what you put your money into.
Right.
In short, it's kind of a worse version of one of the bubbles that happened in Wall Street.
I mean, not exactly, because even with Wall Street, what happened in Wall Street with the because the big bubble burst on Wall Street was the .com bubble. Was you had basically people creating investment portfolios and IPOs, what they're called in the industry, for stuff that didn't produce a product and people didn't know how to monetize it. So people invested money in something they didn't understand that wasn't producing anything and was losing tons of money. You know, that's why stuff like Lycos went away and GoDaddy.com, stuff like that. Because like these people were losing more money than they were making, even with what they were doing. Like the only .coms that still exist is like Firefox, Opera, and Google. And Google's the biggest by far. But like what really like, but still, even like the .com burst, where all those various little .com websites were like opening up and like basically incorporating and having shares and being publicly traded. Like the purpose of having a stock is that you want the value to go up. Buying blockchain and NFTs and crypto in order to make money is anathema, because it's like putting your money. It's like someone saying I put my money into cars. Cars inherently, unless you get really ultra expensive, like handmade, they only make 2 or 3 models, like maybe 10 a year. Like cars inherently, as soon as they roll off the lot, they start decreasing in value. So it's not a good investment. Like it's a terrible investment, because as soon as you put your money into it, it's decreasing in value. It's like jewelry. Jewelry is a terrible investment, because as soon as you buy it, like even like as soon as you buy, let's say you buy a $15,000 multi-carat diamond necklace. As soon as that, as soon as you buy that from the jeweler, it depreciates. If you come back 2 days later and say I want to sell this to the jeweler, they won't give you $15,000 for it. They won't even give you $12,000 for it. If you're lucky, you might get 10.
Well, that's the case for a lot of collector's items as well.
I mean, art will appreciate. If you invest in art, art appreciates. Like if you buy a painting, that painting will appreciate in value. But a sculpture, that'll appreciate in value. Jewelry, cars, electronics, all that stuff depreciates unless there's so few that it's worth something. So, anyway, I don't know how we got into the economics of.
That's always enlightening. I mean, I won't lie, a lot of it's over my head, but it's always
say,
to learn little than nothing.
Yeah.
If anything, I blame NFTs.
I mean, it's very easy to blame a specific thing, but at the core of it is that people. I blame people who look for get rich quick schemes.
Like those people who bought all those what was it? I want to say graphic cards or processors and just use them to go ahead and mine.
Yeah, yeah. Or people who bought them in order to flip them later for a higher price. Because the fact is that a lot of people did not buy graphics cards. They just didn't buy them. They're like, I'll buy a pre-built PC where that price is locked into what you bought the PC for, or I'll buy them for I'll just wait. And now that the price of GPUs are going down, those people who bought like I'm gonna buy 10 NVIDIA graphics cards and flip them for like 120% markup. Those people, those people are in hock for the 10. They spent like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to flip something that they were expecting to make at least $8,000, $10,000 on, and now they can't do it. So I don't feel sorry for those people. I'm like, well, good for you. You shouldn't have been greedy.
Right.
You know, they're There's no such, like, most of the times you see people with get rich quick schemes, it fails.
Yeah, to quote Hank Hill, most easy ways to make money you either end up in jail or with your ass kicked.
Yeah, or both. So, I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand people's weird focus on it, but
Mm,
I mean, I like making money. I think everyone here who's had a job that you made some money. I don't mean like that minimum wage stuff where you're barely making, like, you work. They sit there and curtail your hours to keep you from reaching a certain threshold, so then they don't have to pay you any type of benefits. I mean, like a real job where you make some
mm,
decent money. It feels great. It's great making money. But unless you are a business person and you're creating a product or a good or service that people like, it catches fire, like, most people are not, you're not going to make money quick. You got to be on that grind.
mhm.
Um, but that's neither here nor there. Before we go any further, let's have everyone introduce themselves. Then I can introduce the topics, and then we'll dive into it. I guess starting with the lady first, then the gentleman, then myself. Go ahead, ladies first.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, to the BS Masters and Weekly Podcast. I am Jory Moonstar, and if I'm a little slow today, I'm recovering. But then again, we're recovering from BS all the time.
Yeah, it's never ending. I mean, with all the BS we get in the gaming industry, I mean, we should be immune to it, but it's always some new BS.
Indeed.
It never ends. Louis,
Oh, yep, and I'm Louie. Glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you. This is Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor BS Busters. And we don't have 5 topics this week. We have like 4, but they're all pretty good. Some good discussion topics. So with that being said, let's dive into it right now. So we've got a few topics, 4 as I said. The first one we've got, we'll be covering legendary developers jumping on a bandwagon in order to get investment for their newest projects, with blockchain and NFTs and work to play to earn type mechanics, as evidenced by Richard Garriott and Will Wright. Now, for those of you who don't know, Richard Garriott and Will Wright are Richard Garriott is the guy who created Ultima, the Ultima series, and Will Wright is the guy who basically created, the Sim series, Sim City, Sim Earth, Sim Planet, The Sims. The last game he made was Spore.
If he made, I was about to say, if the
Or
last,
oh my God, that's a callback. Go on, Jules.
I was going to say, if he made the Sims that was for PC last, oh boy,
No.
he's already been roasted.
The last game he made was Spore, and then typical EA, he got tired of them destroying what he created, and he left and went independent. No, right now, like Ultima is no longer. Richard Garriott sold his stuff, took a huge paycheck, and left EA. Same thing with Will Wright. What, like, the stuff that they created, EA has basically taken and turned them into predatory microtransaction messes at this point. But I mean, these are legendary franchises. Like, Sim City was a staple. Like, if you were a kid and you were playing video games, like games that were approved for school use in a school computer lab, Sim City was one of them. Some form
Right.
of Sim City, some form of Sim City, because Sim City taught you about economics, urban planning, zoning, like stuff like that. And Richard Garriott, I mean, Ultima,
Yeah, that
definitely.
was the foundation of the immersive Sims.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue. I mean, people like to talk a lot of shit about American developers, and some people who don't understand gaming like to say, well, American RPGs are trash and JRPGs. But the JRPGs that made JRPGs what JRPGs are would not exist if it wasn't for Ultima, because literally the people who would go on to create Wizardry in Japan and Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest and those games, they were playing Ultima on PC. they literally just stole so much shit from Ultima, which Ultima itself stole so much shit from Dragon Quest. I mean, from D&D. But that basically, if you didn't have Ultima, you arguably would not have Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, which in turn influenced so many other JRPGs that exist. So when I say that these two people are legendary developers, they are legendary. Like, you take their contributions out of gaming drastically changes.
All nearly caveman back.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but you wouldn't have JRPGs. You would have Western RPGs. Like RPGs where you make choices and those choices affect the story, and like those choices,
pretty much everything would be dynamic storytelling.
Yeah, you wouldn't have that. Like no Ultima, you don't get Fallout, you don't get Vampire the Masquerade, you don't get Dragon Age Origins, you don't get Baldur's Gate, you don't get Daggerdale. Yeah, Daggerdale. You don't get Neverwinter Nights. You don't get the Temple of Elemental Evil. You don't get Elder Scrolls.
And I guess you wouldn't also get some of the Fallouts too. A couple of
Yeah.
Oh, you wouldn't even get Disco Elysium, and so on. Yep.
Like basically, without Richard Garriott and Ultima, you don't get you don't get the JRPGs because those people wouldn't have been playing Ultima. So you don't get Final Fantasy, you don't get Dragon Quest, you don't get Chrono Trigger, you don't.
One more Planetscape Torment. There we go.
Yeah, you don't get Planescape Torment. You get nothing. You know the RPGs we had before Ultima on consoles? We had stuff like Adventure, which is terrible. Adventure is absolute trash.
With a name like that, I'd imagine.
Well, I mean, it was the best that they had at the time, but in hindsight, it's like one of those things, like, there's some games that you play when you're young, or that come out when you're young at a certain time. It's like, this game is great, but in hindsight, you realize this game is not that good.
No, I've been here and there. It happened to a lot of games, not even that old, probably just no more than 20 years old.
Yeah. Well, Adventure was great for the time, but in reality, it's like not a very good game.
Right.
Like, but because of Ultima and what was on the PC, that basically uplifted. That was an evolution of gaming. Like, even though Super Mario Brothers on the NES/Famicom came out in '83, I'm going with the original Japanese release. That game is very dated now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you didn't have Super Mario Brothers on the NES, there's all these other platformers you would have never gotten. You wouldn't have gotten Sonic the Hedgehog. You wouldn't have gotten Alex Kidd. You wouldn't have gotten.
I would say you wouldn't even gotten Strider or Shinobi, maybe.
You probably would have gotten Shinobi.
Okay.
You would have gotten Shinobi, but like 2D platformers as we know them, with like a really good physics engine and like basically making it feel like you're in this huge playground and you're moving through this 2D playground. You wouldn't get it. No Donkey Kong Country.
Oh no.
I mean the original, not that retro.
No. Actually, out of all the Donkey Kong Country games, the only one I played was that very first one. But no, that one, it's funny because I went back to it, thinking, I was probably trash at this game because I was just a non-seasoned kid. But going back to that as a grown man, that game is still no pushover.
Yeah. I think the first Donkey Kong Country had the better difficulty curve than Donkey Kong Country 2. But Donkey Kong Country 2 gives you the cheat character of Dixie Kong with that hover jump she has, which kind of makes, some of those levels a little bit easier. So it's just one of those things. But anyway, basically, Richard Garriott and Will Wright are essentially jumping onto the blockchain and cryptocurrency NFT bandwagon. What they're doing is that, respectively, we're joined by a wild Pokemon. How's it going, Kadoshi? Introduce yourself.
Take your time.
I guess he's getting his stuff ready. But when he gets a chance. But basically, Richard Garriott is basically creating along with some of his team that he dragged over from his failed MMO, Shroud of the Avatar. He's essentially, which I've seen gameplay of Shroud of the Avatar. It looks like, Shroud of the Avatar looks like a MMO from like 15 years ago. Yeah. The problem with Shroud of the Avatar is, the problem with all of the MMOs that Richard Garriott has tried to create since Ultima is that all of these MMOs always feel cheap. Because MMOs are expensive.
Yeah.
Expensive is putting it lightly.
Well, I mean, I would argue and say that MMOs are perhaps one of the most expensive genres to create if they're done properly. Because you have to put, you can cheap out on a 2D platformer. If your physics engine is good, you can make a cheap 2D platformer that's great. And the way things are going now, you can make a cheap 3D platformer that's great. Like that 3D platformer that came out a few months ago, or maybe it was last year, that's basically has like a 2D pixel character as the main character, but the physics engine within the game is really good. Forget what it's called, but like indie developers are proving that you can make a 3D platformer that's pretty damn good. Like, maybe not at the polished level of a Nintendo 3D platformer, but in terms of like the mechanics, the underlying structure, the foundation, pretty damn good. You can cheap out on a RPG if you aren't focusing solely on graphics and you have a good art style. You can cheap out on an RPG, but an MMO, like nowadays, if you want it to like catch fire, you cannot go cheap. You can't.
Yeah, no, they're like they're practically almost. Well, I'm not gonna say blockbuster movie budget. That's insane, but
no, they're higher than that.
Oh, really? Never mind then.
Yeah, they're higher. Like, if you want to make a decent, because think about it, in order for you to make a AAA single player gameplay experience, you're spending at least 150, 200 million nowadays, right? Nowadays, 150, 200 million. But once you spend that money, maybe another 50 million on advertisement. But once you spent that money, that's it. You don't have to worry about it. With an MMO, you have to have that studio around to make content for that game for years after the fact.
Yep. Yeah, and that gets pretty pricey, and that's before taking in the fact that customers will respond to how your product's made.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, this is the perfect case. This is like everything falls in line. Okay, you have a 7-year development, a 5-year development cycle for an MMO. Okay, but you actually do a 7-year. Okay, so 5 years. And then 2 years, like 2 years ahead of that, so that you can do the expansion content that you'll drop, that'll, like, people pay $50 for in order to expand the game and add new content, okay? Plus patches in order to, like, all the stuff for support, okay? So you get people to buy the game, plus they do a $15 per month subscription fee. Or, throw people a bone, $100 a year, okay? So, your $60 game plus the subscription fee. So let's say $160, okay? Because people do the year subscription. $160 plus the first $40 expansion pack. That's $200. You get, let me get my calculator. Okay, so $200 times, let's say they get 12 million people to buy that game, like in the first year. 12 million. That's respectable, right?
Yeah.
I'd say decent.
Okay, that is 24. That's 2,400,000,000. Okay. Or sorry, that's not two, because this. No, that's 2 billion. That's 2,400,000,000. That's 2,400,000,000 revenue generated. But here's the thing, okay? They had to pay people. They had to have a studio, or in some cases, studios working on this game for 5 years, 7 years to work on this game. So you have to subtract, let's say, 100 million per year.
Mhm.
That's 7 million.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, 100 million per year. So that's $700 million. So now they've only generated 1,700,000,000, but they also had to spend money on advertisement. Okay.
I almost say these. God, I don't know how well, I'm pretty sure. I guess 90% of MMOs just end up becoming money pits and forgotten and just shut down within the year, and only
Yeah.
really the good ones end up staying in public memory.
Well, the ones that have staying power are the ones that built that like people who have a sunk cost in the amount of time and money they put into it, like your World of Warcrafts, your SWOTORs, and even SWOTOR didn't get World of Warcraft numbers.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah,
No, go
not
ahead, Yoshi.
everybody's gonna get. I was just gonna say, not everybody's gonna get World of Warcraft numbers. That's for sure.
And the WoW numbers are going down.
Yeah.
Like they every time they drop an expansion, they bounce up and then they start going down again after people play through that expansion. They're like, yeah, it's okay, and then it goes down again.
Yeah.
A weak inflation, really.
So you have like a core. Well, I mean, I think the current let me see, the subscriber base, the subscription numbers of WoW. Let me look this up. Subscription numbers for WoW. It's about 4.8
million.
4.8 million. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's
That used to be
that's
much
kinda-
higher though.
Yeah, no, 4.8 million. That's
not. It's a lot.
That's actually just on average at your usual triple. Well, I won't say your usual, but I guess upper mid tier AAA game sells, and
Yeah,
yeah.
but all those people are paying $15 a month, or getting the $100 subscription fee where you like pay $100 and you get the whole year. So,
Right.
That's just the way it is. I know some people are gonna get mad about it, but I mean, But anyway, Richard Garriott tried his damnedest. His Shroud of the Avatar and his Tabula Rasa, both of those flopped.
Yeah, before that he did something called City of something, City of Heroes.
No, he didn't do City of Heroes.
Oh, my mistake, because I have both their pages open. I'm looking at the Sims guy. My mistake.
Yeah. City of Heroes was another person, but Richard Garriott did Ultima, and then he created Origin in order to create Ultima. That was his studio that created Ultima. And then he's like, EA bought their studio, and he used I think he launched 2 or 3 other things at EA. And then they went all the way up to Ultima 9, and Ultima 9 just failed miserably because by that point Garriott was on his way out the door, and EA does what EA does. They buy a studio and then run it into the damn ground. And Garriott cashed out his stock options and left. Smart man. Because I mean, if you create something and you see the people above you just destroying it, I mean, why would you stay there and watch that? So he got the hell out of there. Richard Garriott at one point was king of the nerds. This guy was living the nerdy dream. He made enough money to buy a castle, have a castle that like every few years would have like every year would host a Ren fair. With like jousting and tabletop gaming. I mean, king of the nerds type shit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he made enough money to go into space. He went into space. This is before, you had Starlink and all this shit now. Like, this was back in the day where you had to spend a lot more money to go into space. And he did it. Okay? Because Richard Garriott's dad was a NASA astronaut, Owen Garriott. So he had this fascination with going into space. Never could go because Richard Garriott has bad eyesight, and at that time, like, you had to have perfect 20/20 vision in order to go into space.
I see.
Yeah. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Richard Garriott tried to get back into the game with Tabula Rasa. That flopped. Then Shroud of the Avatar, which was kickstarted, and they did Indiegogo and like Republic, all this like kind of shady stuff in the back end. Selling real estate in game for like thousands of dollars, and just a lot of shady stuff that was shuttered. And now he's jumping on the NFT blockchain bandwagon. And yeah, it's
you
not
like
good.
thinking that ship.
Well, I mean, basically at this point, I think it's just bandwagoning. Because, like I said, like MMOs, like everyone keeps on saying that this MMO should just go free to play, and I tell people, no, you don't want free to play, because every MMO that's free to play costs more in microtransactions and the paywalls that you have to get through in order to progress in the game. Like, once a game goes free to play, it's more expensive than just paying for a subscription.
Yeah.
No,
you're better off just paying a subscription and getting, the most you can out of the game without paying, hundreds of dollars more premium.
Yeah, here and there, because even if you're thinking, oh, I just spend $10 a month. I just spend $10 every 2 weeks, just in the premium currency shop. Okay, that's $20 a month. 12 months, that's $240. Okay, you have spent more in a year on that game than if you had just played for the subscription.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's actually a big point of debate that the fans of fighting games are going through right now, since fighting games have been on the edge of just falling back into niche again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if companies made better games and stopped trying to, we need to dumb this down so much that anyone can play it. It's like, just make a better game and keep your budgets under control. That's it. That's all you got to do.
What's going on? I guess I mostly play games that come out by Arc System, so not really playing games, but they come out by anything else. Maybe sometimes Capcom, but that's usually all their stuff.
And Bamco, well, there's some critiques saying they're just too settled their own way, since there's a camp that thinks fighting games are mostly online experiences, would rather have their resources go into developing a more competitive product. And then there's people who find their lack of single player content really puts them off, and they'd rather have resources put to that, which is why I sort of, despite me not liking Mortal Kombat that much, it's really the one thing that stands out in that it does satisfy both camps to a degree.
I mean, I would argue and say that we had a good single player back in the 6th gen on a lot of fighting games. Like, they keep on investing so much in the multiplayer to the point where single player just kind of, I mean, even game, like, heck, you could see that
what happened to Smash.
Yeah, that's what happened to Smash.
I know people aren't like, oh, Smash isn't a fighting game, but certainly I would say for the last few years, it's been treated like one.
I would say for the last 2 installments, like from the Wii U to the Switch, it's become increasingly more fighting game
oriented.
Well, it's catering to that crowd. it's catering to that crowd more. Like Brawl was more casual. You know, Brawl was like, okay, let's just have fun. We're gonna have a dynamite single player, and the multiplayer is not gonna be that good, the online multiplayer. But if you played Brawl local multiplayer was good too. But you know, then they made the Smash 4 for the Wii U and the 3DS very competitive, and Smash Ultimate is even more so in a lot of ways. Sorry, Smash 5. And I mean, that was the point where I was like, I'm just like, I bought Smash for the 3DS and the Wii U. I have both versions, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like this game that much.
I hear you.
You know, it's too.
The only time I have fun playing Smash is with other people, but
Yeah.
as a single player, it doesn't quite satisfy my needs. Like I like when I go hang out with friends, crack out Smash 5. It's a fun time, but yeah, no, it just says quite a bit when I just go ahead and turn it on myself, and I'm kind of wanting to check out within 30 minutes.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only Smash Brothers game that had a really good single player was Brawl. Melee tried. It tried. It didn't really succeed, but it tried. Like, it had the events where you had like the specialty matches and stuff like that, and its adventure mode was kind of like, it was okay. Brawl really took all that and went forward because you had like it basically took the events and the adventure mode and blew it up to a point where single player is really good in this game. And then they kind of just took the adventure mode and threw it into a corner and peed on it in Smash 4. And Smash 5, like they were like, yeah, we have the World of Light or whatever the hell they call it, and it's like this kind of sucks. I mean, if y'all like it, that's cool. But I was like, I was underwhelmed with that single player.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I mean, but the thing is like the multiplayer has never been better. Like the online multiplayer, the competitive part of it has never been better. But I don't play Smash Brothers for competitiveness. So for me, that was like, oh, okay, well, you're focusing on something I don't really care about, so I'm not really interested in this IP anymore.
And it's even more ironic because as far as I'm aware, that the Smash competitive scene is entirely grassroots. Nintendo pretty much just doesn't pay attention to it at all.
No, they don't pay attention to it unless people use an emulator in order to play online.
Oh yeah.
Melee. They don't like that. I'm like, they're like, we can't verify that you're playing the original versions. I'm like, you don't even fucking sell the original version anymore. It hasn't even been re-released. There's no virtual console for the GameCube. So how the fuck are they supposed to play these games during a pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think partially it's the crowd that they don't want to associate with because
I get it because the competitive people do kind of make.
I associate with the FGC myself, and quite frankly, they're probably one of the least welcoming communities I've ever had the displeasure of knowing.
Yeah, they don't make it fun. Like competitive Smash people do not make Smash fun. Because they take it way too damn seriously. I'm like,
they don't see characters or stages. They just see hitboxes and numbers and frames
and tears. Oh god, they love tears.
The tears.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't look at this wonderful thing. Nintendo created a game where I can play as Ganondorf and beat the shit out of young Link. As like what would really happen if a little kid tried to fight a grown-ass man, magic sword or not, and kick his ass. Yeah. And you people care about tears. Which is why when I have played Smash Brothers competitively, I love playing low-tier characters and kicking high-tier characters' asses with them. It's hilarious. Yeah. It's like, they're like, I'm going to kick your ass with this character. They're high-tier. I'm like, okay, I'm going to play Donkey Kong. Let's see what happens.
And the joke expand dong is found here.
And the joke is, oh, I just kicked your ass with Donkey Kong.
If you wanna ruin their day, really ruin their day, turn on stage hazards, turn on items.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I strongly dislike playing with people online who just went with the flat stage and like this is ungodly
this is not
boring.
fun. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
fun. Like the first time you do it, like the first match, it's like okay, but every match after, it's like, man, this is like I'm playing a traditional fighting game. If I want to do that, I play Street Fighter,
Yeah.
which is much better as a traditional fighting game than Smash Brothers. But whatever.
Right.
Or Guilty Gear. I'd rather play that as a traditional fighting game than Smash Brothers or Samurai Showdown. Actually, I can't play Samurai Showdown anymore. I'll get into that Wednesday. But anyway, I think we've expounded enough upon Richard Garriott and Will Wright and their blockchain NFTs, how blockchain and NFTs are a scam. I guess we can move on to the next topic, which is the Snydercut.
Oh yeah. That
Oh boy.
That abomination.
It didn't do shit for
that-
HBO Max.
I
Oh.
figured because it's funny because someone was trying to sell me on it. It was like, well, how long is it? 4 hours? Like you could look there's a movie on Netflix called The Irishman that's about 3 hours, and that still took me 2 sittings to get through. No way in hell I'm gonna sit down for a 4 hour movie. I don't care who
Well,
produced
if they
it.
paid you to watch it, because I reviewed that movie, but I made like $75 to review it. So, I mean, it's a Zack Snyder film though, and I really hate Zack Snyder's movies. So that was kind of like it was like I was being paid to be tortured.
You should have demanded that they pay you at least 25
Double?
hours for each. Yeah, double that.
Double, like it's like 150. And I would have, but I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna be a
$1
professional.
for every minute, credits included.
I'm gonna be. It's longer than 4 hours. It's like 4:13, 4:15. But anyway, yeah. So there's an article here, and I'm gonna share it, and because I think it bears repeating. Because I think this is the problem with fanboys, and this isn't anything.
Mhm.
This is in video game fanboys, console fanboys, movie fanboys. If you're a fanboy, don't think just because you fucking like something that is the general idea of everybody. Okay?
Yes.
So, because there's shit that I like that I know is terrible, and I readily admit it's terrible, but I like it. But
Mhm.
anyway, that's neither here nor
Hmm.
there. Let's talk about the Justice League Snyder Cut on HBO Max did worse than they thought. Following the big DC news, new details on the performance of Zack Snyder's Justice League on the HBO Max streaming service became known, and they are not good. And whoever wrote this, whoever edited this, needs to be fired because they did not edit it properly. That's the English part of me. Anyway,
I was about to say they wrote it that badly.
yeah, they did. And this is, this is a website with some production value, and yet apparently, whoever edited this we'll just plug it into the HTML. Anyway, it's learned. It is, Jesus Christ. It has been learned. Jesus. It has been learned that the Justice League Snyder Cut on HBO Max has performed worse than thought, as new details are revealed, which follows the big news that Discovery wants to overhaul DC and revitalize Superman. The info once again comes from YouTuber Grace Randolph, which follows her earlier report on how the Snyder Cut failed to perform and bring in subscriptions. Jesus Christ! No one edited
Whoever
this.
wrote this is really terrible.
Whoever wrote it, they probably wrote it quickly. But it tells me no one edited this. They just posted it up. And bring in subscriptions for the HBO Max streaming service, which is something I first revealed. Oh God, is the only reason the Snyder Cut was greenlit from HBO Max in the first place. So since the Snyder Cut stuff failed to boost HBO Max subscriptions, it's now reported that the Snyderverse is done for, as Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav takes DC in a new direction. To be fair, though, it wasn't just the Snyder Cut that failed to bring in HBO Max subscriptions. It was all the movies that WB day and date released, hence why WB did a 180. Now all their movies are getting released first in theaters.
They had to have seen that coming. Seriously, like I think it also happened for them with that Godzilla vs. Kong too.
Oh yeah, they sabotaged that movie. That movie would have had more people going to see, because I saw it. I went to go see it in theaters, and then I saw it on HBO Max because I was like, yeah, why not? I know they got me because I saw the Batman twice in theaters.
Yeah, and I was like, that was such an awful call on their part, but continue.
Well, I mean, they got scared. They were like, look, we
Mm.
need to, this is our streaming service. We need people to come see this. And I mean, I'm pretty sure some people signed up, but not in the numbers they were thinking. Regarding the new information about the performance of the Snyder Cut on the HBO Max streaming service, in her report about the new direction of DC, Grace Randolph says that a lot of people actually stopped watching the movie and didn't finish until the end. Randolph notes she isn't talking about the hardcore DC fans. Actually, you need to take that hardcore DC shit out. It's hardcore Zack Snyder fans. Okay? Because anyone who's a DC fan and saw Man of Steel and thought that was a good representation of Superman is not a DC fan.
I was about to say, whoever is thinking that is probably high on some shrooms.
Yeah, but anyway, Randolph notes she isn't talking about the hardcore DC fans, but more about the normie audience. You mean casuals, as they didn't watch the entire 4 hours, but stopped as they might have felt it wasn't too different from the 2-hour Josh Whedon. You mean Joss Whedon? Jesus fucking Christ!
That gets me to thinking that it's just a movie with a lot of added
Was
footage.
this movie?
Instead.
Was this review done through Fiverr?
I don't know about a review.
Is that
whoever wrote this, dude? You don't need to hire an editor. Just send it to you can. There's websites where you can plug your papers in and pay like $5 or $10, and someone will edit your shit for you to make it read more professionally. But anyway, here's the quote. It didn't materialize in the level of subscriptions that they had hoped. Engagement. There's been some word around town that not everybody watched the whole thing, even if they did start it. Certainly, all of you watched the whole thing, but I'm talking about your parents, your friends, people who aren't super into this stuff, who maybe felt that it was not that different from the original 2017 version. So, the Snyderverse is said to be done for. So, with the Snyder Cut not performing as hoped, and it is known Wonder Woman 1984 was an absolute failure on HBO Max, not surprising considering that Gal Gadot has the acting depth of a shallow pond. Actually, I take that back. She doesn't have the acting depth of a shallow pond. Has anyone ever spilt water on their kitchen floor? That's the depth of Gal Gadot's acting capabilities.
That movie looks like it was done in somebody's garage in like 2 weeks. Did you see some of the CGI and how terrible it looked?
Wonder Woman 84?
Go look at that. Go look at that lasso.
I saw the movie.
Come back and tell me.
I will give my thoughts on both of those movies, both Wonder Woman 84 at the end. But let's get through the rest of this.
I was going to comment that she probably has the same acting depth as Miss Marvel.
You know what? Here's the thing: Brie Larson can actually act. I just didn't like her interpretation of Captain Marvel.
Right.
Because I've seen Brie Larson in things where she acted her ass off. Like, she actually acted her ass off in, so-and-so, forget the name of it. Shit.
Long Island? No.
Brie Larson.
Scott Pilgrim?
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. She acted her ass off in that. She was good in Skull Island. Yeah. Like, she can act.
That's the reason why I said that she has the same personality depth as Miss Marvel, because it was barely a good act.
Well, the thing is, I can separate my dislike of someone's interpretation of a character with their acting, because if I've seen them in other things. But Gal Gadot is just not a good actor.
You go back as far as Fast and Furious, it was kind of always the same.
Yeah, the big thing about Gal Gadot is that she's hot. But that's it. Like, she doesn't... Like, I've seen actresses that are hot who can also act, but she is not one of them. She is not a hot actress who can act. She's just really hot.
She definitely was sitting on somebody's couch, that's for sure.
I mean, I'm not going to go that far, because, I don't have any evidence of that, but I know she's very attractive, but she cannot act. She probably has a wonderful personality, but she cannot act to save her life. Like, if someone said, if you act, if you don't act properly, your family's gonna die, her family would just be gone. Anyway, so a Snyder Cut fan account also recently tweeted that Discovery should bring back Zack Snyder to give him a fair shot. But as I replied, Snyder has had his fair shot with Man of Steel and missed. Oh God, did he miss? Back when I attended the 2019 San Diego Comic-Con, DC insiders filled me in the plan was to reboot The DCEU under J.J. Abrams, they already fucking up. They're getting J.J. Abrams because how he fucked up.
No!
He fucked up Star Trek and Star Wars, two of the most important and powerful
IPs and
sci-fi science. Well,
and
I
no
don't even say
history.
just sci-fi. I'd say American pop culture franchises ever.
I mean, I would say that Star Wars is more pop culture. Star Trek is more sci-fi than Star Wars because Star Wars is
like some.
It's more fantasy
in space.
Yeah, it's more like fantasy than. But he fucked up two of the most iconic American pop culture IPs by himself, single-handedly, which is amazing.
You have to give this guy credit. He somehow knows how to destroy something that's legendary.
So I don't want him to fuck up Batman and Superman too. Matt Reeves. Okay, Matt Reeves. I saw the Batman. Look, the Batman. I'll give Matt Reeves credit. He's done a good job. I'll give him credit. Okay, he can do a good job. James Gunn. I saw Peacemaker and Suicide Squad. Those are good movies.
Yeah, no, he's got a pretty good track record.
I'll give him credit, but J.J. Abrams, my asshole puckers at hearing that. I'm like, something. There's evil afoot. So anyway, that's the end of the article. I just thought that we would discuss that now to get to the discussion portion of it. So with that being said,
thankfully we're out of the English part because I don't think that you could suffer any more from that.
Well, that was the article. I thought that it needed to be said. So what do you guys? So I'm gonna let you guys go first. And then I'll come in. So who wants to go first? Who wants to give their thoughts first?
Why am I not surprised on this one? Then again, if anything, we could probably say that Zack Snyder somehow is gonna have another sinking ship on his hands.
Well, for myself, so there's actually a pretty good comparison I have here. So every time a DLC character drops for a fighting game, the hardcore fighting community always goes ahead and returns to go ahead and try them out, and the numbers go up. And as soon as the 2-week or week-long period of amazement passes, numbers go back and plummet. So when I hear all these Zack Snyder fans sort of assume that they're assume that just their big influx of fandom coming in is the majority of these HBO Max viewers, it's a little sad. Honestly, ever since the Zack Snyder cut was announced, I just thought I don't see what the excitement about this is. It's never going to bring back the Snyderverse. It never was. I mean, they're not even showing this thing in theaters.
No, and they wouldn't because it's over 4 hours long.
Yeah, and the thing is, even if it's not in theaters, asking someone to sit through something for 4 hours, even at the comfort of their own home, it was never going to fly.
Yeah.
No one. And the thing is, now that I hear that the idea that they dropped off because it was too similar to the first cut, just gets me thinking. Well, now it just feels like a bunch of touched up CGI and found footage. Because literally, the Steppenwolf redesign is the only thing I know about this film, and that's barely enough to get me by.
Yeah. I mean, basically, no. I'll give my thoughts at the end. Kadoshi.
I was on a Discord call where people were watching that tragedy, that terribleness that was the Snyder cut. Why did it have to be 4 hours long? And B, you probably should have focused more on those characters, and then you wouldn't need to make a 4 hour long movie. Because aren't there there's characters in that movie that they don't even have movies about, like Cyborg.
Cyborg.
Who else?
Let's see. Cyborg. Batman didn't have his own movie. Like, how the fuck are you gonna have How the fuck are you gonna have the Justice League and have literally like 3/4 of the characters in the Justice League don't have their own movies? The Flash didn't have a movie.
Yep. And it's not even looking good for the Flash or Cyborg, because if I'm not mistaken, their actors have got some bad business going on in their personal life.
Well, so. Ezra Miller attacked somebody, and Ray Fisher just is like, I was treated badly. And I'm like, okay, you were treated badly. Okay.
Well, and then you know, it's like he wants to make this grimdark story. They should just give him Batman Beyond and build a universe out of that.
I don't even think I want to see him touch Batman Beyond.
But he'd fuck that up too, because Terry McGinnis is in a grimdark world, but Terry McGinnis is not a grimdark character, and Zack Snyder would fuck that up because he'd make Terry McGinnis into a grimdark character, and it's like the point the point behind Batman Beyond the point behind Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond is that he's the new Batman, but he's not like Bruce Wayne Batman. Like he actually has a work-life balance. Okay? Like he's like, there's other shit I want to do with my life besides just punching poor people in the face.
I'm surprised they don't have DC doesn't have like what Marvel has, in the sense like Marvel has their own studios that write and direct this stuff.
Well,
so,
Marvel has Kevin Feige, and DC the new CEO of Warner Discovery wants to get a Kevin Feige, like someone who can orchestrate all these different.
Wasn't the guy they have now one of the publishers, editors or something? Guy behind Green Lantern.
They used to have Jeff Johns, but when forget what movie it was. When Justice League, the Joss Whedon cut, like bombed at the box office, they were like, "Yeah, you got to get the fuck out of here, Jeff Johns."
Yeah, I figured as much.
Yeah.
I think actually Jeff Johns is a good idea of what would happen if Star Wars went under Dave Filoni, because Jeff Johns is a pretty big fanboy himself.
Yeah, but I mean, having a fanboy involved means that they'll inject a character they fucking like, even though the fans don't. That's why you got Cad Bane, and that's why you got the Book of Boba Fett, because like Dave Filoni is so invested in the characters he created, and it's like, dude, you can't be that, like, you can't be so invested in your own custom main character that you put the other shit aside, which is kind of like where Dave Filoni kind of falters a little bit. You need someone who's a fan but not a fanboy.
Yeah.
Right, and it's funny because I don't even dislike Cad Bane, but he died. He dead. He's not really a character that really needed that preservation.
No. I mean, he's a cool character and all. I mean, yeah, they basically made space Lee Van Cleef, and if you know anything about Lee Van Cleef in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and the Sabata, like the spaghetti westerns of the 60s and the 70s, Lee Van Cleef is fucking awesome. But it's like don't bend what could be a good story just to include your own fan character. Well, the character that you created, which is Dave Filoni's problem. That's why Ahsoka Tano is a thing, because Dave Filoni created that character, and that's why you're getting an Ahsoka show. Even though, I mean, listen, I know everyone liked Ahsoka Tano in The Mandalorian season 2. Season 2. But I mean, like the choreography with those lightsaber battles with Ahsoka are just shit. Okay, I'm sorry. I felt for a second I thought I was watching I thought I was watching A New Hope again. I was like, whoa.
Oh, is that the blue alien that shows up?
No, the orange one, the Anakin student.
Anakin's
Anakin's
Padawan.
The mascot of Dave Filoni Star Wars.
Yeah, of Clone War, of the 3D Clone Wars. Ahsoka Tano is the mascot of the 3D Clone Wars. But I mean, my thoughts on this is this. This is what you get when you put someone in charge of something who's totally fucking unqualified to be in charge of it. Zack Snyder has not made a movie that I've appreciated in years. Okay.
Last one for me was his Dawn of the Dead movie, and I didn't feel pretty good about his Army of the Dead movie myself.
No. For me, like, everyone likes to cite Dawn of the Dead is a good movie. Dawn of the Dead is a good zombie movie, but as a remake of George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, it's shit. No. It's shit. It misses the entire point. The point of John Romero's Dawn of the Dead was it was a critique on consumerism, and like, even fucking brain dead zombies are obsessed with going to the mall and buying shit. That was the point.
His Dawn of the Dead just sort of played up the cheese, and I don't really like it when they just go ahead and just play up the cheese, because that's what they thought the 80s intended.
Yeah, it's like, when did the Dawn of the Dead come out?
Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. Here, let me look it up.
No, the first Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, I'll look it up. Dawn of, I think it was the 70s. It was 78. Zack Snyder's remake came out in 2004, and he completely missed the fucking point. Like what Zack Snyder made was just this bog standard action film. That's all he did. It was just a bog fucking standard action film. Whereas George A. Romero, yes, it was a zombie film, but it was making a statement. Look, even Night of the Living Dead, the film that started the zombie genre as we know it, the modern zombie genre as we know it, was a critique on, like, it was saying something more than just, oh, those are zombies, the Living Dead. Like, because, like, the original Night of the Living Dead, the protagonist of the film, the guy who saves everyone's asses, is a black guy, and he had a black character doing shit that you did not have in the 60s. Like, the black guy slaps the shit out of this white dude who's giving him some shit, slaps the shit out of him, like, yeah, shut the fuck up. This is what we gonna do. You know? Like, he's cool, and at the end of the film, he's murdered by some fucking rednecks.
Yeah.
Which is an insult.
Well, I mean, you know, it was like, look, the fact that he almost made it to the end to get gunned down by some fucking racist ass rednecks. Right. You know, I mean, it's fitting for the setting, because Night of the Living Dead came out like when George Romero had finished with his final edit. He was on his way to take it, to get it put into the converted into you know, a film so that he could get it sent to movie theaters and shit. On the radio, he'd heard that MLK had been shot. MLK Jr. had been shot. So, I mean, like, tensions were high. Like, we were just getting, like, the civil rights movement was still going on. His film said something. You know, like, whatever you want, you said whatever you want to about George A. Romero. He was trying to say something with his films. There's some shit from Zack Snyder. It's just a fucking action movie. It's fun.
Yeah, there's this one scene that I just keep recalling that just sells you. I mean, not sells you, but tells you the tone of the movie, where they're communicating via rooftops, via like these whiteboard signs. Yeah. And when their guy on the other side gets bitten, he literally holds up his sign as a zombie with blood splat over. I was like, that's such a stupid scene. It doesn't convey terror at all.
Yeah, well, it's Zack Snyder, so.
Right. Yeah, no, Army of the Dead is just peak Zack Snyder. Just absolute visual spectacle with no depth to it at all.
Well, I mean, like I said, like if you just want to watch Dawn of the Dead as just a standard, hey, it's a zombie movie, okay. Mm-hmm. But I would have preferred if they just called it something else, like Mall of the Dead. Just call it Mall of the Dead, because to compare it's a remake of the George Romero movie. Like, hell it is. Right. The only Zack Snyder thing that the only Zack Snyder film that I like.
Watchmen?
No, I think Watchmen is shit too. It's 300.
Oh, all right. I mean, I don't like 300, but that's fine.
I mean, like, because the thing is like 300 is right up Zack Snyder's wheelhouse. It's brutal. It's dark. It's got no real hope to it. Mm. And that's all it is. It's just, I mean, it's exactly what it needs to be. You know?
He should direct the Berserk live action movie.
Oh God, he'd fuck that up. No, actually, that's right up Zack Snyder's alley. Actually, that'd be perfect. If they did a live action Berserk, Zack Snyder would be perfect for it, because that's the world Zack Snyder envisions. Okay? Yeah. Hey, you want to see a world where a grown man rapes little boys? Zack Snyder's the director for that.
Oh boy.
But yeah, so Zack Snyder was the wrong architect for the Justice League, for the DC Cinematic Extended Universe in the first fucking place. It started with the Man of Steel, where he fucking did. First of all, Man of Steel is just Superman 1 and 2 smashed to get together, except done like cinematically, special effects wise, it is better than the 78, 80 movies. Okay? I'll give credit to where credit's due. The special effects are much better than what we had back then. In terms of story, character, protagonist, antagonist, it's shit. It's shit. It's fucking shit. Like,
no,
go ahead.
No, I didn't have anything to say, actually.
Yeah, I mean, how are you going to do a remake of, Like, ironically, like, maybe two of the best superhero films of all time.
Yeah.
Like, you get so many things wrong. Okay, first of all, okay, you banish Zod, Ursa, and Nan in the beginning of the film. You have Zod kill fucking Jor-El early on in the beginning, which is kind of weird, but okay, fine, then fuck it. You don't banish them to the Phantom Zone, you just send them into outer space, which is kind of stupid. Krypton still explodes because no one knows Superman's origin story.
Of course.
No one knows that origin story. We're not familiar with it. You know, it's.
I was being sarcastic.
Yeah, I'm being sarcastic too. No one knows Superman's origin story. So you have him go. He lands. A little baby lands in Smallville, outside of Smallville, Kansas, and you get Ma and Pa Kent. Do you get a good Ma and Pa Kent? No, you get a fucking terrible Ma and Pa Kent.
I was about to say, this is probably as bad as the Waynes.
I mean, basically, yeah. It's not a very good Ma and Pa Kent. Like you get Pa Kent. Does Pa Kent die from a heart attack? Which is like Superman. Okay, Superman after he's gone to the Fortress of Solitude for that period of time where he gets like the knowledge of how to use his powers from the knowledge crystal from his father. He may have been able to save Pa Kent from a stroke. But, Superman, before he's done all that shit, it's like, my dad's dying, what the fuck am I supposed to do? There's nothing he can do. Even if he used his superhuman strength superhuman speed to run to a hospital and grab someone and come back, it probably would have been too late, and his father would still be dead. All this power, and there's nothing he can do to save his father.
No. Yeah, no, that film just has a tone of overwhelming despair just for edgy's sake too.
Yeah, just for the sake of it. No, you know how Pa Kent dies in the Man of Steel? He's like, well, fuck it, son. I know the hurricane, the tornado cellar is right there. The cellar is right there, but I'm gonna stay out here holding on to the truck. Fuck it. That's it.
They have to twist their finger in there.
No. I mean, you could literally just pick me up, son, and just take me to the shelter. No, I'm gonna stay out here and die.
I remember back then it was thought to be a sensible counter argument. Tell you, what was he supposed to do when Zod was blasting those innocents? The only thing you could have thought of was to break his neck. Well, ideally, you would go ahead and write the script to not have such an event ever have taken place.
Well, ideally, if Zack Snyder had actually included the lore from the actual fucking comics with the Phantom Zone, he would have banished Zod, Ursa, and Nan back to the Phantom Zone. Which is what happens at the end of the if you watch the extended cut of Superman 2, back in like 1979, 1980, if you watch the extended cut, at the end, Superman takes Zod, Ursa, and Nan to jail, and then he locks their ass back into the Phantom Zone. Because that's what the Kryptonians do. Because they know that, like, these people, if they reach a yellow sun, they'll get superpowers, and you don't want a motherfucker like that with superpowers doing shit, because it makes them even worse criminals. So they put them in the fucking Phantom Zone, which depowers Kryptonians and other superhuman people. Like, the Phantom Zone depowers them. They can't use their powers. Nah, we can't get any of that, and he's got to fucking snap a dude's neck. And then be sad about it for a moment, but then he goes, like, all these people have died while you were fighting in the city. Because, like, those people weren't able to get out those fucking buildings. And then you make out with your girlfriend on the rubble. Man of Steel, folks.
Superman wouldn't let a bunch of innocent people die fighting in the city.
Superman is not going to fight in a crowded city with buildings getting destroyed around him. He's going to try to take the fight outside of the city. He's going to take it to the countryside. He's going to go into space. He's not going to fight in the fucking...
He He is not going to cause collateral damage.
Yeah, and the movie just ignores. He's just like, well, that happened. He's just right there. Old Clark Kent's in Daily Bugle's like, dude, you can't just ignore all of this just for spectacle.
Look, like I said, if you're gonna remake Superman 1 and 2, the first one done, they were both done by Richard Donner, but then Richard Donner got fired, and then they got Richard Linklater to come in and finish it, and he reshot enough that his name would get put out as directed by. But those are like widely considered to be very good superhero films. If you're gonna aim for the king, you best aim accurately, okay? If you're gonna redo those two films, you better either be equal to or greater than, and that Man of Steel is not. Special effects wise, it's better than, but story, writing, character development, logical progression does not. It's not there. It's not fucking there. So, I mean, but this is the guy you got. A guy who, like, Superman is arguably, like, the cornerstone of the superhero genre. So you have someone create a Superman movie, and he fundamentally doesn't fucking understand Superman. And that's who you get as the architect of your Detective Comics extended universe. Are you fucking surprised that these movies weren't good? It's like, I can't believe that someone who fundamentally, that's like someone saying, hey, who did you hire as the head chef of your steak restaurant? Oh, we hired someone who's a vegan and doesn't like meat. And then you act surprised that the food's not good at your steakhouse restaurant.
Yeah, no, they were banking on his Watchmen success at the time.
Which is not a good movie. Like, his version of Watchmen sucks. It misses the entire fucking point of Watchmen. Anyway, but hey, I mean, if you want to see a scene where Dr. Manhattan clones himself and has sex with a chick, yeah, that's cool.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, if you really like that, if that makes you happy, Zack Snyder's got you covered. Where he actually makes a character who in the comics is a racist piece of shit, Rorschach, into a sympathetic hero that you love.
Yeah, unironic Rorschach fans are just gross, man. Like the ones that like they're the ones that like that the dude from Taxi Driver and think he's actually some sort of misunderstood.
Yeah, Travis Bickle. Guy. Travis Bickle's a piece of shit.
Yes.
Rorschach
or Tyler Durden, just any of those sociopathic people.
They're pieces of shit. They're created to be pieces of shit. Rorschach is a racist, misogynistic piece of shit. The whole point of Alan Moore, the whole point of Watchmen, the whole point of Watchmen is that superheroes that don't have any type of moral conscience they're not superheroes. They're just villains going around doing whatever the fuck they want. Anyway, yeah, so he did Watchmen, and they were like, yeah, well, this is the guy we're going to get in charge of the DC Cinematic Extended Universe. And it's like, you don't seem to understand. Zack Snyder fundamentally doesn't understand superhero films. He doesn't get it. They asked him, why did you go with so dark Superman? Well, I don't understand how you could have an altruistic character in the real world. Really?
Superman doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, and all you need to do is point him over to Sucker Punch to get an idea of what Zack Snyder's creative vision is.
Sucker Punch is terrible. Sucker Punch should have been the cue for Warner Brothers to be like, yeah, this guy this guy needs to fucking go. He needs to go. He needs to fucking go. But then, they gave him another chance. Batman v Superman. Movie is fucking terrible. Okay?
Mm-hmm. And I agree. Nothing from DC outside of Shazam has remotely has any staying power with me. I've completely forgotten most of it.
And Shazam the tone they took for Shazam, that should have been the Superman movie.
Right. Oh, and the new Suicide Squad, I thought that one was a much better watch.
Yeah, it was. It was. Because basically, like, the only problem with the new Suicide Squad is that the end of the third act, they turn them into heroes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the Suicide Squad, these people aren't fucking heroes. They aren't heroes. They're villains. Mm-hmm. They're fucking villains. Amanda Waller's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, no, like that opening scene with them was fantastic. I really wish it would have kept the whole mood throughout the game because, hey, look, no matter Idris Elba's good, but no matter what his character, I'm not gonna forgive him. Yeah, yes, his daughter's a pretty poorly behaved, but dude, you're in Bel Rev for a reason, man.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
yeah.
root for you outside of her making sure she lives in the end, but not rooting for you to make it back with her.
Every character in the Suicide Squad is a piece of shit. Harley Quinn's a piece of shit.
Uh,
King Shark is a piece of shit. Deadshot is a piece of shit. They're all
I think
pieces of shit.
the only one I even have a slight bit of sympathy towards is the Polka Dot Man, just because that man is truly a damaged victim of a lot of
Well, he
crazy
was
shit.
tortured because his mother wanted to create superheroes. She basically
Hmm.
exposed all her children to mutagens in order to turn them into superheroes.
Right.
And the ones who survived, which is him, is just totally fucked up.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that's not really his fault, but everyone else is a piece of shit.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, not really surprised that Zack Snyder's films, the Snyder Cut of Justice League, didn't go well because the Snyder Cut of Justice League was.
A mess.
I mean, if you want to see 4.5 hours of a director, basically,
Jerking himself off.
yeah, his masturbatory experience, cinematically speaking, then go ahead, watch Justice League, the Snyder Cut, because that's all it is. A lot of slow motion, a lot of self-indulgent bullshit. That's all it is.
That's
Okay.
like a big tech demo.
No, well, I mean, if it was a tech demo, because you could say, wow, other games could learn from this. It's literally just Zack Snyder. It's Zack Snyder indulging his worst qualities as a director, with no one there to say, "Don't do that."
Yeah.
Don't do that. You know. Hey, you want to see a slow motion scene where ladies in a village are so turned on by Aquaman that they're taking his clothes, and if there was a scene in this extended cut where they took those clothes and you saw them unzipping the bottom parts of their clothes as they ran into the house and closed the door and said, "Be back in 15 minutes,"
Oh god.
and taking
Enough
care of
said.
themselves, you'd be like, "Yeah, that makes sense," because that's basically what's going on in that Aquaman scene. Just a lot of slow motion, a lot of unnecessary slow motion. Like every character gets a slow motion. I'm like, why this is unnecessary? Because first of all, unless you're a fan of Justice League, you don't know who the fuck these characters are. You don't know who
Right.
Cyborg is. You know who the Flash is, but Ezra Miller's version of Barry Allen sucks. Okay,
Yes.
it's terrible.
It's just Tom Holland Spider-Man. They just really wanted that so bad.
Yeah, but a shitty version of Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Right.
Ray. Look, his Cyborg sucks. Okay, Ray Allen's Cyborg is trash.
No
Okay,
charisma at all.
it's fucking terrible. It's fucking terrible. Justice League. Look, Joss Whedon. Everyone's like, I hate Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon did the best he fucking could. He did the best he could with what he had. If someone came up to a Michelin star chef and said, "Look, you need to make a sumptuous dessert. What ingredients do I have? I got a pack of Twinkies, some chocolate syrup, and some sprinkles and some Cheetos." You ought to be happy that you get something edible, okay?
Lord. I remember seeing in that, I think it was that article that some other fanboys are petitioning for other director cuts, like the David Ayer Suicide Squad cut. I'm like, dude,
Fuck
you
no.
guys are out of your mind.
Fuck, so we can get more Cholo Joker? I don't think so.
Right.
I'm damaged. I got a grill. You don't want no beef? Jesus fucking Christ, no.
Right.
No. Listen. There's some films that you watch and it's like, you know what? An extended cut of this would actually help because there's shit. You can tell there's shit missing.
Mm.
We do not. No one needs an extended cut of that first Suicide Squad. That fucking terrible piece of shit Suicide Squad with Cholo Joker, or as I like to call it, trying too fucking hard Joker. I've got damage tattooed on my forehead. I got a grill. It's like, really? We didn't need this.
Yeah, no, David Ayer, he's just he is thick on his love for like East LA stuff so bad.
Yeah, and when it works, it works. You get shit like Training Day.
Yeah.
You can't, look, Training Day is fucking amazing. Or Bright, which I know people are going to be like, I didn't like Bright. I actually liked Bright. I liked it, like, for people in the modern age, like orcs and shit, or the black people,
right.
the black people of the modern age. It's
Yeah,
like,
that
you're
one
driving
actually
my properties down. Why are you doing
that one actually got an animated prequel. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I liked Bright. The problem with Bright was that it was on Netflix, and had Bright been in the movie theaters and had a bigger marketing budget, it probably would have been better. But it was on Netflix, and so it didn't get the marketing push. Like, had it been in theaters, it probably could have done really well. And maybe had less CGI and more practical special effects. But they did the best they could. But yeah, no. I don't want an extended cut of fucking any of that shit, because I just. I mean, I didn't like Aquaman. I didn't like really, like, I like the idea of Shazam, but I'm like, I wish this was a Superman movie.
Yeah.
Like, this would make more sense if y'all had taken this tone and put it in a Superman movie. So then we have Superman meet Batman. You have that contrast in how they view shit. No.
Honestly, I wish it was like that that one 20-minute short where Superman and Shazam team up against Black Adam. I wouldn't have mind adaptation of that.
That was cool. Actually, no,
Yeah.
that wasn't a short. That was they had that was one of the DC animated films where Superman and Shazam team up against Black Adam, and Superman's doing his best, but Superman has no defense against magic. So Superman's getting fucked up, and Shazam's doing the best he can, and they have to team up, and it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool fight.
Yeah, no, loved it.
They're all kind of built similarly, but they have completely different power sets. But yeah, Shazam, like I said, and they should have been like, you got to get the fuck out of here when you had that fucking Batman v Superman Martha moment. And who Zack Snyder decided should be Lex Luthor. I'm like, why the fuck would you get Jesse Eisenberg to be Lex Luthor? Why?
Yeah, no, that dude just saw Social Network and thought, no, that's perfect. And I'm like, no. There's a little more to it than just being a CEO, an egotistical, psychopathic CEO.
No, I mean, I hate to say this, but the best version of Lex Luthor is the animated version voiced by Yancey Clark.
Clancy Brown.
Yeah, Clancy Brown.
Old Mr. Krabs.
The Lex Luthor, you don't know what his ethnicity is, and he's a super genius.
He some Mediterranean something.
Look, you don't like. It's kind of like how Norman Osborn was back in the day, where he had his hair was permed out, and it's like, I don't know if this is a black guy. Maybe it's a black guy who can pass, and that's why he's got the waves. I don't know.
They brought it back, I think, or they're still doing it now, where he's got those clean waves.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what you do for those waves, Norman Osborn, but I like them. They smooth, man. They smooth. That's why he wears that goblin shit. That's to hold them waves down. But yeah, like Zack Snyder. Yeah, the DCEU was a failure. Zack Snyder was the wrong person to be in charge of it. They should have actually vetted some people who actually had a love and appreciation of the IP, and not just, well, he makes movies that a brand of nerds really like. That's not good enough. I'm sorry. You saw that shit at the Oscars where they're like, yeah, Twitter voted on the Snydercut, and like no one was clapping because normal people don't give a fuck about the Snydercut. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, normal people do not want to sit through. Look, I'm a huge fan of the Godfather. It's one of my favorite films. I love the version of the Godfather that they cut part 1 and 2 to be chronological. It's like over 6 hours. It's like 6.5 hours long. Love that. But I would not recommend anyone, if they are a casual Godfather fan, to watch those two, the cut of those two movies together chronologically. Right. Because look, even if you're a fan of those films, you might not be the type of fan I am.
No, that's fair. No, that's self-awareness that some fans really need. Where, hey, that's a big thing with a lot of nerd fandom, where they kind of come off too insulated. They think their world is the entire world.
Yeah, I love this. Therefore, it is the end all be all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but that's just fucking stupid. No.
Right.
And I guess we can skip the fourth topic, which is our criterion for a good or bad game. I guess we'll save that for Wednesday. I guess we can nominate our asshole of the week. So who wants to throw their name in their asshole nominee into the hat? Name into the hat.
Well, myself, since not caught up in a lot of the hot topics today, I'll just go ahead and go to the most common victim. Well, not common victim, most common perpetrator. Oh, Bobby Kotick. That's my go-to.
Oh, okay, all right, okay, that's fair. Kenoshi.
Nah, I don't have one this week.
All right, Joel. Okay, I guess she's off. My nominee is the Saudi Arabian prince, who his little game concern bought SNK like
98% of SNK. Yeah.
Oh, it's gone up. Okay, 98% of SNK. The reason I'm going with the Saudi Arabian prince is because this is the same fucker who had a U.S. citizen brought in, strangled, and dismembered.
Oh God!
And our then president helped cover it up.
Yeah, I think
it's not a big deal that a U.S. citizen was murdered at a Saudi Arabian consulate. That's no big deal.
Right. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, he's 33, or well, he was made the prince at 33, and he made it a thing that you couldn't be a prince till you're 35, just so you could have that title himself. A lot of people always describe him to me as just being pretty much a young, cocky, and very almost scatterbrained prince there. But yeah, no, I'm gonna go ahead and rescind my asshole that we can give to him, because yeah, he pretty much bought almost all of SNK in this big move to buy more media companies to make up for their I guess dwindling oil sales.
Well, that, and to rehabilitate their public image, because they have horror, like Saudi Arabia buses in flies in migrant workers who they then treat as slaves. Like, you know, that shit from, you know, back in the 1200s, where when you know, those Persian empires would basically have slave states where like the really wealthy would like own everything, and like everyone owed everyone everything, and you know, you basically the poor were subservient to the rich, and they could do whatever the fuck they wanted. That's basically Saudi Arabia. Like, if you aren't rich in Saudi Arabia, you're fucked. You're basically fucked.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and I was saying I'd normally go with Activision Blizzard, but I went with the NFT crew. But then again, you guys convinced me to change my vote again.
Well, he had a U.S. citizen murdered, so like Bobby Kotick, like I'm pretty sure some people were worked to death at Activision, but I don't think that was the intent. But he specifically had a U.S. citizen lured into a foreign consulate and murdered.
Yeah, that's the guy I feel is the a-hole of the week.
And now they're like, oh, well, you know, he bought SNK, which, you know what that means? Now I won't be buying SNK games. Ever. You know? There's other shit I can... At least they haven't bought Arc System Works. I can still play Arc System Works games.
Oh, yeah,
but,
no, that... Ooh.
And if I will play, and I'll say it right now, if I will play an SNK game, I'll be getting it through some other means. I won't be buying it. I'll say that much. So with that being said, yeah. So I guess asshole of the week is the Saudi Arabian prince and his company that's bought SNK and is on the way buying other things. That's asshole of the week. So with that being said, anything you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
I think that works out pretty well for us.
You guys got nothing you want to pimp out? No content? Nothing you want to be like, yeah, this has to be talked about?
Well, the Project Console, Tuesday, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time.
All right.
Nothing for me this week.
All right. I had to push back my video that I was going to talk about like really good side games that I feel are at least commensurate with, if not better than, their main games. Mostly because I'm still capturing the footage. Like I have the games, I just have to put them in the emulator and capture the footage for them. Because I want to have gameplay footage of the games and not just be like, me talking about them. So with that being said, that's the end of the video. I will probably have some videos coming up next week. Happy Easter. Hope you guys enjoy your Easter weekend. Peace. Have a good day. Have a good weekend.
And don't forget to catch us next week on 7:30 every Wednesday and Saturday.
That's correct. 7:30 to 9 o'clock 7:30 p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe, and